Serial ATA is a much newer technology. Serial ATA runs at Serial ATA 1 runs at 1.5 gigabits per second. That's 1,500 megabits per second. SATA 2 runs at 3 gigabits per second. 3 gigabits per second. SATA 1 and SATA 2 are the newest versions so far. So if you look at this difference, the fastest ATA we had was 150 megabits. SATA runs at 1.5 gigabits per second. Gigs per second. SATA 2 runs at 3 gigabits per second. That's 3,000 megabits. All right? But it all must be compatible just like over here. If we have a SATA 2 hard drive and a SATA 1 controller card and a SATA 1 cable, what speed will we run at? 1.5 gigs. What if I had this configuration? SATA 2 hard drive, SATA 2 controller.
You get a SATA 1.
That's right. I still have a SATA 1 cable, so I'm still at 1.5. I need a cable that's compatible with SATA 2. Okay? Everything needs to be compatible in order for you to reach that maximum speed. All right, so hard drives can be SATA. What I want you to notice is that some hard drives have the little L data connector. Remember, this is only data. We haven't talked about power yet. That's only data. The power will look like this. Power plugs in like so. Okay? But because SATA was new, and not all power supplies had this new SATA power connection, some hard drives come with an extra power connector that looks a lot like the older hard drives, right? The Molex. So if you don't have SATA power, you can use this if your hard drive has it available. So for these drives, you can have power here or here. You don't need both, just one or the other. Okay? And data will all come from one place, from this SATA connector. All right? All right, now SATA can also be in a disk drive. Here I have a DVD burner, and in the back I have a SATA connection on it. Right? So SATA is not only for hard drives, it's just like IDE where you could put devices on it as well. Much faster than IDE. There's no configuration, there's no jumper settings, because there's only one per drive, so it's much easier to configure. You just plug it in, and then turn it on in your BIOS, and that's about it. Okay? Any questions with SATA? Very simple, very nice, slick. Now let's talk a little bit about cost. IDE versus SATA. The price is the same, believe it or not. You go to the computer store today, you need a terabyte, you're going to have the same price for the SATA and the same price for the IDE. Because SATA came out so quick, manufacturers of drives were able to keep the same rotating heads inside and just switch out this bottom panel. So they were able to manufacture it really easy, really fast. Motherboard manufacturers had a whole different process to do. It wasn't just add an extra connection, they needed to make this connection talk with the rest of the computer. So this manufacturing was a little bit prolonged. And because of that, supply and demand, you had this big old supply, no demand for it, kind of made the prices be even. Okay? And today, it pretty much stayed that way. SATA drives, it costs just as much as an IDE hard drive. Okay? And sometimes IDE costs a little more now because it's the supply and demand again. There's not a whole lot of supply for it now because most drives today will be SATA. If you look at this motherboard, this is the motherboard with the new processor on it, you will find 4 SATA connections and not a single IDE. So this motherboard has no IDE at all whatsoever. Okay, and the newest motherboards will be like this. No IDE at all. Okay, just all SATA. Nothing but that high sheer power speed. This one's also a newer motherboard. This one also has 4 SATAs, but it also has 2 IDEs. Okay, so this one's a little bit more modern. Also is going to run into your price factor. This motherboard costs more than that motherboard. Notice this one only has 2 slots of RAM. The 2 other sections are there. They're just not on there. If you pay a little bit more, you get the bigger model, which does have it. Maybe it does have the IDE port somewhere. I don't see a place for them. Maybe not. All right. Let's move along. Another internal hard drive connection would be SCSI. SCSI. SCSI comes in a daisy chain. If you look at these are SCSI daisy chains. And even though all three of them look extremely different, they're all the same. They're all the exact same thing. These are 3 different SCSI daisy chains. Okay? At the end of every single SCSI daisy chain, there's a terminator. Okay? And it's not the same guy, hasta la vista, baby. It's not that one. All right? This is just the device terminating the line. Whether your SCSI daisy chain is inside the computer, whether it's internal or it's outside the computer, if it's external, every single SCSI daisy chain requires termination. Okay? So no matter how many you have, how many devices you have on each line, whether it's internal or external, every single SCSI daisy chain requires termination. It's important. Okay, that was a test question. Now, most SCSI daisy chains, like those that are going around, have the termination built in. You don't have to worry about it. It's already terminated. Others, like this one, can be removed, can be extended, or they can have a SCSI drive with termination on it. Okay, if this drive has termination on it, then it will not only be the drive, but it'll also be the terminator for it. Okay? I'm going to pass around 2, actually just one, a SCSI hard drive.
So this is the terminating end?
Yes, that's the terminating end. The terminating end goes the furthest away from the motherboard. So the opposite end would be the one that goes into the motherboard.
And this goes nowhere? Just
Nowhere. That just terminates the line. It stops the daisy chain. Okay, there's 2 connectors, power and data, on the SCSI hard drive. The SCSI connector looks like so. Now there's a lot of different SCSI connections. This is the most common on workstations. Okay, the other one is the Molex, the same power connector as the other hard drives.
So is the hard drive specific to SCSI?
Yes, that's a SCSI hard drive.
So does it say that again?
No, you just have to look at the connector in the back.
Oh.
Every single hard drive has a specific connector on the back. Okay.
IDE or SCSI?
Excuse me?
Just the different types of connections.
Yeah, just different types.
ATA, IDE, or SCSI?
IDE. IDE, floppy, SATA, or SCSI. Depends on what your drive, either hard drive or optical drive or disk drive or whatever it is. Depends on what kind of connection it uses.